Now, Willie Dixon sued Led Zeppelin because it's based on his song "You Need Love." He won the suit eventually. How did you feel about being sued by somebody who you admired so much, and especially like knowing that there's such a history of African American artists getting ripped off and everything, to be perceived as a part of that? What was that like
Yeah,
for you?
I take your point. That's a very succinct and a challenging question. We had an idea throughout the time in the band that we were in part of some kind of flow that began either with the chain gang music of Mississippi, Parchman Farm, Dockery's Plantation, down on with the medicine shows of the 19th century, Joe Turner, C.C. Ryder. The whole idea of the origin of these songs was quite translucent and almost eternal. And there were many times throughout all musicians' lives that you say, okay, this piece of music has come from here, and then it goes back to there, and it dodges right back through to the very earliest time. This morning I was playing a Tommy McLennan CD on the way here in the car, and it's a CD I hadn't heard before. He was a guy who recorded for Victor in the 30s. And suddenly he starts singing Crosscut Saw, which was later made famous by Albert King on Stax. And it was identical, but it was 30 years earlier. And our impression was that all this music was kind of translucent and moved on down through time. And with the power of Jimmy Page's guitar riff and the actual "Want a Whole Lot of Love" vocal line, which became the chorus, and the psychedelic centerpiece, the melody was the lift, my responsibility, but it was only a part of the entire effect. So, I just thought it was part of the game. I know that might sound naive and irresponsible, but there's so much of it about. Crossroads by Robert Johnson has got so many different writers depending upon which version you're looking at on the record label, that at the time the conjecture was, this is another one of those songs.
So are you saying that you didn't think it was actually written by Willie Dixon, that it was just a kind of conglomeration, or are you saying that it didn't?
No, our version was a conglomeration of originality and the lift of the lyric.
Right, and you thought that that kind of fit into what had always traditionally been done with music. So was it upsetting to you when Dixon sued? Not
at all. No. And it was, I think, some time after the band had disbanded. And, there's so many... the same thing happened to us when Michael Jackson recorded a track. I think it was called Thriller. And never thought much about it, just said, well, that sounds quite a lot like the riff in Heartbreaker, the Led Zeppelin riff. And people now employ musicologists to check out the various proximities to melody and the various refrains, and then they come up with a solution or a plot as to whether or not one would be successful if you went to court. It's a sign of the times.
Right. Well, earlier you were saying that when you started recording, you were shy. And by the time you're in Led Zeppelin, you're singing about, giving her every inch of your love. And so, something had to happen to that shyness on stage. Can you talk about the transformation from, the shy Robert Plant to the much more...
go ahead. The lyric just developed in the studio, which was a free-form ad-lib. We were talking earlier on about the ends of songs, about the free-form aspects of it.
Yeah.
There is so much innuendo in the blues, and a lot of English musicians were very fired by Robert Johnson, who, to whom we all owe more or less our very existence, I guess. And the innuendo, whether it would be Terraplane Blues, where he was singing about the parallels between his woman and an automobile, or Traveling Riverside Blues when he's mentioning the famous Squeeze My Lemon line.
Yes, which you made far more famous, yeah?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all there. It's public domain.
Right.
The Lemon Song. It's all about the sort of barrel house, bawdy, juke joint aspects of Saturday night music. So I was still, I think I was probably still shy, but I was playing in to character, if you like, with these songs, because it was such, Whole Lot of Love was such a kind of funky, sexy piece of music at the time. It had a fantastic lope to it. And taking the original Willie Dixon lyric, you know, you need cooling, I ain't fooling. I mean, that whole idea, it's not talking about cookery lessons or gardening tips. So the whole thing was based on some kind of sexual innuendo, which I think at the age of 20 was okay.
Can you talk a little bit about creating the visual image to go along with this new Robert Plant that was singing these songs that were laced with sexual innuendo?
No, I don't know how many of those songs particularly were aimed in that sort of free-form fashion, but the image, it's got very little to do with the lyric. It had just got to do with the times, and at that time Janis Joplin had a particular way of looking, and the whole Renaissance clothing, the whole idea of the beautiful clothes and the stuff, that the entire wardrobe of movie stars, deceased, ended up on Sunset Boulevard. There were some beautiful clothes to buy, and they just seemed to be absolutely appropriate. We were all very, very skinny kids, you know, 160 pounds, and not a lot of muscle, just a lot of energy. So there was a look, and that look was kind of universal, really. It didn't have anything to do with the lyrics. I mean, we could just as easily have been a kind of folk band, or you know, another Crosby, Stills and Nash, perhaps, and we still would have been dressing the same way.
Spend my days with a woman unkind, smoke my stuff and drink all my wine. Made up my mind, make a new start, going to California with an aching in my heart. Someone told me there's a girl out there with love in her eyes and flowers in her hair.